America's drug-taking culture is an aspect of our country that has been constantly changing and conforming with the times. Throughout this semester, my analysis and understanding of the drug-taking culture in America has only become richer and more understood. As a whole, the drug-taking culture has shifted from an era where taking drugs and medication were highly frowned upon to a culture highly dependent on medication use. Examples of this include the use of Tylenol and ibuprofen for headaches, birth control, and painkillers for chronic pain. Throughout my experience this semester, I have found a specific interest in the opiate epidemic that our country is currently battling. This interested me from the beginning because of how strongly the opiate epidemic has impacted my hometown. I have known multiple people from my area who have lost their battle with drug addiction, and this increased my interest in understanding the epidemic. Through this TED-like talk, I would like to give an analysis of my experience in learning about the drug-taking culture in America, including what fuels the epidemic, healthcare beliefs, attitudes, and social norm that compile the drug-taking culture. I will do this by giving specific examples from the book Dreamland, which was read in order to complete the modules and better understand the opiate epidemic. Healthcare within America has had a direct influence on fostering the opiate epidemic within our country. First example of this is seen when analyzing pharmaceutical companies' impact on the epidemic. As mentioned in Dreamland, companies such as Purdue Pharma falsely advertised to doctors the idea that the opiate painkillers such as OxyContin were virtually non-addictive and completely safe for prescription to patients with chronic pain. This was because of the advertisement of the time-release component the pill possesses. As a result of the pill being advertised in such a way, physicians began prescribing the pill without giving adequate warning for the legitimate effects that can happen if the pill is not used properly, such as severe addiction. The rise of the pill OxyContin has also begun to foster pill mills throughout our country, which had a direct impact on the opiate addiction. An example of this was the pill mill ran by Dr. Proctor in a small Virginia town. Dr. Proctor did not have any interest in observing his patients or ultimately spending more than a few minutes with them. His interest was in prescribing as many prescription painkillers as he could to the patients who came into and out of his office daily, as well as a cold cash he received. As one can see, these pill mills directly increased the use of prescription painkillers and our opiate epidemic just because how easily the pills began to be accessed. Small towns with these pill mills began to be taken over by the epidemic. In fact, a small town in West Virginia, pain pills have begun to have their own currency. People would steal items from the local Walmart and could receive and sell these items in exchange for painkillers. These are just a few examples of how healthcare has had a direct impact on the opiate epidemic. Another aspect indirectly relating to the increasing opiate prescription numbers is the increase of heroin abuse and overdose. Another misconception shared within our drug-taking culture is how similar opiate painkillers, such as OxyContin and heroin, are in composition. This has caused a direct linkage between abuse in heroin and abuse in opiates. In most instances, heroin is cheaper than prescription painkillers and more easily accessed. Another example of this is given in the book Dreamland. Heroin has become more easily accessed directly because of groups such as the Zlasco Boys, who had transformed heroin selling and distribution. The key thing about the Zlasco Boys is that they changed the selling of heroin into more of a corporation-type drug distribution. The Zlasco Boys came from the small town of Zlasco in the Mexican state of Nayarit. They came to America and have since integrated themselves in many states around the country, including Ohio. They work in that they have drivers that deliver black tar heroin that has been stuffed inside of balloons. Junkies can call a 24/7 running number, which then connects them to the multiple drivers around the city. A significant characteristic of the Zlasco Boys is their lack of violence. They do not carry guns or involve themselves in violence as many drug dealers and gang members do within our country. This helps them successfully evade law enforcement. As a result of the increasing prescription of opiate painkillers and the turn to the easily accessed heroin, our drug-taking culture has successfully fostered an atmosphere for the opiate epidemic being faced today. The attitude surrounding the medication-taking behavior has also had a direct impact on the increasing opiate epidemic. This attitude centers around the idea of our society changing from an era and generation where medication taking was not condoned to a generation that relies heavily on medication. Examples of these can be seen in our own everyday use and reliance on medication. In our current society, most people cure aches and pains with over-the-counter medications such as Tylenol without thinking much of it. Other areas that medication control is birth control, which is used to control many other things other than contraception. This increasing attitude and societal acceptance of medication taking has allowed for the opioid epidemic to prosper as well. When the average person goes to the doctor, they expect to leave the office with a prescription or a diagnosis of some sort. This is a social norm that has been accepted in this new generation era. Patients are also always expecting something when leaving the physician's office. This has put a new pressure on physicians to prescribe. They now have to deal with the pressure of managing pain and do not want to leave the patient in pain. As mentioned in Dreamland, some have even gone as far to distinguish pain as a fifth vital sign. This leaves doctors with a whole new realm to deal with in ensuring that they do not underprescribe and leave their patients in pain. This attitude is seen throughout the assignments that we have completed this semester. A key example of this is seen in Macklemore's drug dealer music video. In this video, a woman is portrayed laying in a pile of pills singing, "My drug dealer was a doctor, had the plug from Big Pharma. He said he would heal me, but he only gave me problems." This hints at the idea that many opiate addictions come from places you might not think of, such as physicians. Doctors are under constant pressure and also are paired with the decreasing amount of time they get to check up on patients, and this is causing overprescribing more than ever. Another attitude and social norm that contributes to the opiate epidemic is the idea of peer pressure and that everyone is doing it. This is seen in Macklemore's song as well when he sings, "They said it wasn't a gateway drug," while he lays in fetal position with his hands over his head, applying to the listener that it is and was, in fact, a gateway drug. This is why I believe that the opiate epidemic is so prominent in my hometown. Most people do not try opiate drugs and heroin with the intention of getting addicted. Peer pressure, as well as the societal norm of doing what everyone else is doing and fitting in, have contributed to many young kids becoming addicted because often one time is all it takes. In the past, most cities assumed that these opiate-abusing junkies existed in the lower class areas of the cities. This idea is quickly changing as we are seeing that a lot of people that are affected by opiate abuse, as well as abusers, are in upper middle class white suburban neighborhoods. This could be because of a plethora of reasons, but personally I believe this is because of peer pressure and the fact that these people are able to afford spending large amount of monies to satisfy their addictions. This has also been seen to come from other reasons, such as high school and college athletes being given painkillers to increase their performance and pain after injuries. As mentioned in Dreamland, a University of Akron football player lost everything and ultimately his life because of an addiction that started with pills being given to him by trainers following a collegiate football game. As a result of this, opiate addiction and abuse has become a very taboo subject within our society. Most parents of these kids are from a generation where the social norm of medication taking was very negative, so when they found out that their kid may be suffering from addiction, it is often kept very quiet and rarely spoken about. Some may even go as far as lying about the cause of death if their child were to overdose, as exemplified in Dreamland as well. Overall, it can be seen that our changing social norm toward a positive attitude surrounding medication taking behavior has caused an increase in the opiate epidemic that we are battling today. In conclusion, the opiate epidemic is something that our country is experiencing and trying to control currently. Many people are affected by this epidemic either directly or indirectly. It has reached a status of #1 accidental cause of death right next to car accidents. The way that this epidemic has been able to prosper is a cause of many reasons, but in my opinion, mainly because of healthcare beliefs, attitudes, and social norms surrounding our society and culture. The increase of a positive attitude surrounding medication-taking behavior has allowed our society to become accepting of the idea of being prescribed medication and using medication to cure all ailments. Unfortunately, many addictions begin with a simple prescription of painkillers that is either misused or not needed originally. The reason for the overprescribings from doctors has come as a result of doctors not having as much patient-physician time, as well as false claims given by pharmaceutical companies such as Purdue stating that the new opiate drugs are not addicting and completely safe to prescribe at any will. It can be concluded that the opiate addiction has impacted almost every socioeconomic class, and most people know someone who has been directly impacted. By completing the modules, I have greatly increased my understanding of the opiate epidemic and feel more knowledgeable on the subject. I hope that my analysis of these modules and assignments can further help others understand the epidemic that our country is facing.